Hi! In this short video I want to show you how to do crow pose or Bakasana. That is an arm balance, and once we're in the full pose, the only thing that is touching the ground really are your hands. So you're balancing your whole body on your hands. I'll show you that in a moment. Prop-wise, I'll walk you through a couple of options how to get into that pose. And blocks, yoga blocks, are an incredibly powerful tool to learn how to get into this pose and to make it more accessible. So for this one, I would say have 3 yoga blocks ready. If you don't have 3 yoga blocks, that's totally fine, neither do I. So I've got 2, and I've taken a nice thick book. So I've tried to make sure that the book is roughly the same thickness as my yoga blocks. If you don't have any yoga blocks at all, you could take 3 thick books, or you could also have 2 books and like a pile of cushions, and I'll show you how we'll build that up in a second. So let me first show you what Bakasana looks like if you do it without blocks. Just moving my blocks out of the way. So we're having our hands out in front of us, really nice, wide spread fingers, and you want to pull your fingers in a little bit. So if your fingers are like this, you want to pull them in a little bit from the side. If this were the mat, the wall, and just pulling them in, a bit like a little frog. So you're pulling your fingers in, and that helps with that balance. I'll show you 2 ways to get into this if you don't think you need any blocks. So you can start from down here, like sort of semi-squat little hover. And you want your knees to be on your upper arm, as close to the armpit as you can get them. That will make it easier. They'll slide down a little bit, so the higher up they are, the better it is, because you want them above the elbow. It's almost like you're building an IKEA shelf with your arms, or any other shelves available too. So, hands on the ground, pulling my fingers in, knees really high into the elbows, and I'm shifting forward. I'm looking forward about, I don't know, like 15, 20 centimeters, 3-4 inches. And I'm pulling my feet towards my bum and balancing here. My elbows are pushing into my upper arms. Some people, so here my elbows were pretty much against the back of my upper arm. Some people like to have the elbows a bit outside and pushing them together. Show you that. So a little bit this, pushing them together. That works really well as well. That is really personal preference. That's something I can play with. So that was getting into it from like that sort of little squat position. And for some people that prefer to get into it almost from like a forward fold with straight arms. So again, hands shoulder width apart, pulling those fingers in. And then you're sort of pulling your thighs towards your belly, and knees into those armpits, and then we're coming into flight here. Okay, so just to show you, these are how to get in it without using any props. If you've never done crow pose before, do not worry. How we're using our blocks would be that we're placing 2 blocks, or 1 block under each foot, and 1 block out in front of us, so that if we were to tilt forward, the block catches us. If you're using books here, because you don't have a block, I would suggest maybe putting like a small towel on top, a t-shirt or something, on top of your book, because obviously the corners are a lot sharper and you don't want to poke your eye out once you fall onto it. Or as I said, this is where you could get a huge pile of pillows in front of you, so that you are not afraid to tilt forward to fall on your face. Alright, let's build our little crow house here. Getting those blocks. And then we're stepping on the blocks with our feet. And you'll see already, if you want to give this a go without the blocks, how
If it's without the blocks, you have to pull your elbows, your knees into your armpits a bit. But by stepping on those blocks, your knees are already higher anyways. Hands on the floor. So that makes it a lot easier. And then, just a bit there, you have to experiment a bit how far ahead of your hands you have to put that other block. But I would say, similar as where we're looking, sort of 3-4 inches, 20-ish centimeters in front of us. So, hands again nice and wide, pulling those fingers in, those little frog things, pulling our knees in, and then we're tilting forward. And now if you were to fall forward, your forehead would be landing on that block. And you could try again. You could just shift here a little bit, shifting the weight. See if you at some point catch flight. Hovering here, maybe falling forward again, and just playing around with it. And this little block setup, I think, is a perfect example that shows you that blocks are a tool that don't think you're not doing the proper pose when you're using blocks or when you're using any type of yoga prop. There is no such thing as a proper yoga pose. It's different versions, different levels of a yoga pose. And using these blocks allows you to do the pose that makes it accessible to you. Okay, cool. Let me show that to you one more time. So stepping on our blocks. Feet are about hip width apart. Knees into the armpits as high as we can. Hands out in front of us, fingers pulling in. Shifting forward. And as you try this, maybe only lifting one foot and then the other. Maybe trying to lift both. It's fine if it takes you weeks or months to get there. But once you get there, it'll be really fun. Okay. There's another version, how you can use the blocks. So I'm moving my book to the side. Prefer to use my yoga box, but I would work with the book as well. Even though this one, we're going to place our hands on the blocks. And these blocks are quite good because they're a bit slimmer than books. So you can grab them really nicely. So if you put your hands on the block, make it so that your thumb is going around it and your little finger on the other side, and maybe even the other three fingers, so ring finger, middle finger, and index finger, just poke around. So you're actually grabbing that block. I'll show that to you. Like so. So the block is on the floor and you're holding on to it for dear life. So really holding on, and that helps you in stability of your hands. So another version of using the blocks. So, placing those blocks in front of us, holding on, and then again, coming onto, so here you could hover, or try doing it with the straight legs, bending the arms maybe, coming up. Ooh. It's okay to fall out, as you just saw happens. I find this one a bit more difficult personally, because obviously now your arms are higher off the ground. You have to work harder to get your elbow and your knees into your armpits. So trying this one more time. But the hands, that is helpful, that you can really grab onto it. So that's something I could try, how to use the blocks. And just for one last one, I want to show you a few variations of crow, of Bakasana. That once you're used to this pose, once you feel steady in the pose, that you can try doing other things. So for one, an extension of crow, a further way of doing it is that you try to straighten your arms, and that is crane pose, I think. For that, let's place our hands on the ground, and I think that my arms are super straight, but I probably aren't as straight as I feel, and that's fine, because for me, I'm still lacking on that very much. So, coming into my crow, looking for, pulling my feet towards my bum as I do this. Straight arms, as straight as I can get them. Okay. So that was one version, trying to have really straight arms. Let's try that again. And you might notice as you work on your crow, you get really out of breath. I do, and I can feel that I'm sweating. And that is, you're working your heart rate, you're working a lot of muscles in your body. Your arms, obviously holding a lot of weight, but a lot of it is coming from the core, the back, the shoulders, rather than, you don't need super strong arms. Just need, pull all of yourself together to get into that pose. And what I meant earlier with the IKEA shelf, you just need to find that spot on your arm, that if you put your knees there, just need to find that sort of way you slot in. One last one, how to get into a side crow. So for that, you'll be squatting, feet together is ideal here. Looking forward, and then you walk your hands to the right or the left, and you want to have your hands next to each other. And again, hands about shoulder width apart, fingers pulling in a little bit. Then we're coming into the side crow. Ooh. And here again, you could have a pillow under your head. And right now, don't know if you saw that. I'll show you from this side. Okay. So you see how I'm resting my weight on both elbows here. So the outside of my knee was obviously on the elbow that I twisted over. So if you twist to the right, your right upper leg will be resting on your left upper arm. But I also rested my right ribs on my right upper arm. Some people lift the ribs off the arm and they can balance like that. I find I have more stability when I rest on both arms, so it makes it a bit more stable for me. Yeah, so that is crow for you. It is a intense arm balance. You will feel your heart rate go up, you will feel a bit sweaty, but it's a really fun thing to work on, I think. If you have any way, if you discover any way that you find explains really well how you get into this pose, like as I said, I you sort of pull everything in, and it's the IKEA shelf, like just slotting your arms and resting your arms there. If you have a better way of phrasing that, if you discover, oh, this just makes so much more sense to me, please let me know. I'd love to hear how you find getting into crow pose works for you. I hope this was fun. Let me know about your progress in the comments and how you would explain it differently to me. And hope to see you soon.